Hello everyone, I am Nuno the second and today I'm here to talk about the Kyalami race that happened this season of course, and the race where Corvid won out of nowhere, being the second ever non-European driver to win an Ultimate League race. It was the first time we saw a non-European driver winning a race since K won his last ever race at the Hungarian Grand Prix in season 4, which was my debut race. Yeah, it was obviously an historical moment for the league and a really big moment, and obviously amazing win from Corvid. And yeah, this will be a race where it's going to be a little bit hard to explain the first few laps because a lot of things happen, and for this race in specific, I can't really just focus on a short group of people because there's like a huge range of drivers to talk about here. Because Corvid was on a massive pack, so to explain how he got to win, I need to talk about a lot of drivers because he was on the midfield and also the drivers were at the front. Because to explain how the Corvid got into the front, it's important to explain what happened to the drivers who were at the front before. So yeah, as we see here, the qualifying almost getting over, and yeah, soon I'm gonna look at the qualifying results. So as we look here at the qualifying results, we got then Venimator taking pole position with the lap of 33.20, then Chargity starting alongside, then also Hernandi up there in the top 3, then Corvid would start in P4 ahead of then a pack of 4 drivers tied with the 33.48, Kubo, Juni, and then the 2 NTHs, Kader and Anti, as Grandi would be missing this race. Then Kader and Main Freeze would start only P10, so a big indication that Main Freeze would maybe not practice that much or just sort of shock in the qualifying. And yeah, so let's then watch what were the tire choices for the start of this race. As we look here at the starting strategies, we got Venimator and basically almost everyone starting on the soft tires. Then we got Sharch, Juni, then Urist and Suicide were starting at the back with the hards, and Sobel starting on the mediums. So this will be important because with a lot of people starting on the softs, everyone would do something different, would basically be on a what we could call the tire offset strategy, which is when you opt for a complete different thing compared to everyone else. And this sort of type of strategy ended up, as you will see later on, working as some kind of a swinger, where at the beginning you are a little bit behind, then everyone else pits and you jump yourself into the front, then you pit and get undercutted by a lot of people, and then the others pit again and you get yourself into the front, and the cycle just continues. So you're just jumping up the front, up to the back, until later on we start to see whether that strategy work or not, and so you see if you are more at the front or not. And so yeah, this was it for the tire strategies. One thing I'm starting to notice though is that Chargity seems to always start on the hard tires. It is funny. And the Urist as well usually starts at the back, so it kind of makes sense to maybe jump a lot of people, maybe get lucky with rain. Of course here it was cloudy, very cloudy, so we could easily get a rain announcement early on, or maybe when after everyone on soft speeds. So yeah, let's then watch the start, as I'm probably not gonna do any cuts on the first 9 laps or so, because there's a lot of things to like talk about. Actually, I think from the first 13 laps, so there's really a lot of things to just talk about here. That's because this is a huge mess up that starts at the front. As I explained before, there's a huge range of drivers to talk about here for this race in specific. So there's a lot of things to talk about. But yeah, let's then go with the start here. Got Animator with pole position, Chargity on the hards, already getting passed by Hernandi, who then tries to take the lead here, going side by side with the German, but he can't do much here, as we also got Kader at the front being quite the shaker here. Let's say someone could create chaos, who could create certain specific moments to happen. And so yeah, you can see here Kader battling at the front now, putting himself up in second place, and I think this will allow Danny to take the lead here and run away, because Kader would, as you can see right here, dive bomb, I think a few people get a penalty, and yeah, with some people getting pushed off by him, this would allow for Danny Rater to run away, as we got almost 4 wide into turn 1 here, and then you got this incident that gets Nandi maybe out of the win of the race, as he gets, I think, maybe out of bomb by Mati or Andy. It's kinda hard to explain what happened here, but what's for sure is that Nandi gets completely deep into the grass, loses a lot of positions. We see Corvid here with basically a mistake or a penalty, which then once again allows for Danny to run away, because Corvid was very close to Danny, and I think he maybe got pushed by Danny, but he was the one who gets the penalty. It's so weird. This also allows for Anti to get basically closer to Anti, and they just sort of got away. I actually need to review how this exactly happened. Anti got away with that incident, then Corvid gets the penalty, and Anti somehow gets on that. Then he made the slipstream, and so yeah, this happened. So then and Anti were getting away, and then somehow Mati right next managed to sort of connect this group right here. As you can see right now, you can see Mati connects this group once again. Everyone basically on the same group. Then Corvid has this massive mistake, which I'm not sure if it was a mistake or a punt. Maybe my Mati, but it's kind of weird. It's hard to explain as well. So Corvid makes a massive mistake, and now we get a free group, which soon becomes only 2 because Mati makes massive mistakes. And when I was watching this, I was frustrated. Like, how did you mess this up? Like, how? It's hard to explain. He makes a huge series of mistakes, which then makes him already like swallowed by this big pack. Now Mayan Freeze will be the one in 3rd place with Kubo, while Danny and Anti will be leading the way now at the front with basically just the top 2 here. And yeah, basically that's. And then I think later on we will see Mayan Freeze and Kubo getting away alone as well. So Mayan and Kubo will be in 3rd and P4, with then Kada leading the rest, with also Kada as well appearing. Corvid was still on this massive group. Also there are other 2 protagonists here, which would be Soba and Chargity, who are racing on mediums and hards. So not on the softs basically. Then Anti takes up the lead of the race here on this lap. I think he may have pushed Danny Mater at this moment. As you can see here, I think he got pushed by Anti, but it was very unclear. So he gets got up by Mayan Freeze and Kubo's group, while Anti now leads alone at the front. Anti looked very competitive on this track, so no big surprise that he would be fighting for these top positions. And yeah, looking to climb up, because Anti certainly had a lot of ups and lows. Then another group gets formed at the back. We got the Corvid, I think Corvid, Chargity, no, it's Corvid, Cutler and Sobol gets formed, another group there. In the battle for the P5, as then I think Danny gets passed by Mayan Freeze. So there's a lot of things to talk about here, just a huge mess. Then Chargity will be in P8 now on the hard tires, as those hards will start to get to be the superior tires. So now it was starting to benefit from those tires, because then soon we will see the first people to go into the pits. And I think the first will be Kubo, who ended up pitting right here. I think mine almost losing that slipstream, but yeah, I think Kubo will be the first to pit on lap 6. I think Corvid will do the same as well. And yeah, this will be an interesting moment in the race, as Kubo would take hard tires and Corvid would go for the softs. So this will be interesting, and you will see how those 2 drivers ended up being in 2 complete different paths from this race on, from the second stint, all because they were already picking complete different strategies. As Andy was still leading the way, then Mayan Freeze and Danny will be battling for that second spot. Then Kader and Sobol be on a massive battle. And then here, Telemetry gets pushed by Mayan Freeze on the outside once again, and I think this is where things starts to go downhill from the animator. Back then, live in a race, it was kind of hard to see how did Danny got that far down after being in the lead group at the beginning, because Danny suddenly just gets sort of killed a lot of times. I think here he's gonna make a mistake, as you can see, then gets passed by Kyler, and I think he starts to get a lot of lag from this moment as he gets a lot of cars on the screen, which usually doesn't help. But then here we also see at the same time Kubu, who pitted earlier than Mine Freeze, he got an undercut, and so he could get Mine Freeze slipstream because of that. But then they have to pass Uris here, and I think this is when Kubu loses the slipstream to Mine Freeze, and now he was sort of alone without any slipstream, and that was really bad for him because I think it's here he makes a mistake on inside, or gets pushed on inside. I don't really know what happened there, and so he would lose the slipstream of Mine Freeze, and now he would be some sort of wouldn't say sitting duck, but certainly a target for other people, as he was on the hearts. Then we got the Kader incident, or the Kader factor, let's say, because Kader would prove to be tricky to drive with, as he has huge ping, always wants to be ahead. I think not sure if he's always willing to slipstream or not. And then we got these two drivers here. This is how they later on would become protagonists in this race, because they were on the different strategy, as they would be always the latest to pit, but obviously very soon they will get undercutted by a lot of people. That's why I kind of got the idea that they came from quite behind out of nowhere as well, just like Corvid. But no, they were just on a different strategy, so this is normal to see them just behind after they pit. But then when everyone else pits again, they will be at the front once again. Because you see here Corvid on this group, this massive group that he made there as well. I think Danny at some point got also pushed by Kado, and he was on a downhill from there on. He couldn't get out of that big group, so that ended up being really bad for him. Also, Mine Freeze in the meantime, she got anti, as she was on the softs of course, and they ended up dragging anti along. And this was already on lap 9, where she managed to basically catch him. Then here we see Kubo just struggling with Kader in about of a third, with Nandi also trying to climb his way back after getting pushed by Mati. So that was really hard. You can see here Kubo just being completely pissed. Now you would have Corvid right behind him. So there was sort of this big chaos, while then Antti and Meyer was just enjoying the race, while Sobel also on fresh new tires would have an advantage of pace. Chargeti still investing on the hards as well, on a complete different strategy, but here Marian Antti would put himself mostly at the front due to the fact that they were in a very favorable position. Then you can see here Corvid now tried to get past Kader, but it was just hard for them to, because I think they were this massive group was formed because of lap 11. I need to rewind things a little bit to go to lap 11 to see, because Kub and Kader were kind of alone on that group. Then they got caught up, and it's here. I think no, it's not here. Kub was still massively battling with Kader, or I guess it's the opposite. It's Kader battling Kubo. Kubo, I think he knew he was faster than Kader, and that's why this gets him very frustrated. Because then you can see here how Corvid is getting very close on the soft tires. So this is the moment he gets pushed off, and now this massive group gets formed once again. But then this massive pack would then reduce down to just 3 people, and those 3 people would be basically Kader and Kub and Corvid. So those who were already leading that group. And I guess we can just skip things a little. We got Corvid now putting himself up there with Kub and Kado, and I think it's on the here. You can see on the mini map. In the meantime, no, Kubo doesn't pit yet. So Nandi pits again. He goes for those undercuts. Then he was just trying to get himself on his way back, basically, going for the hearts. As we see here, Kubo now forming a 3-way group. I think it's on the first few corners. It's sorry if I'm just doing a lot of rewinding and stuff. But here, if you look at the mini map, you can see like a 3 group gets formed. I think it's on the turn 1 and turn 2 with I don't know, a lot of chaos on those corners. It seemed easy to get deep into the grass on the inside of turn 1, for example, and also turn 2 on the outside. It was huge chaos. So yeah, this was basically a group form here with then Sobo trying to climb his way back as he has, fresh tires, and Corvid pits as he was on the soft tires. And I think this ended up being very important because this would, for example, allow him to undercut Kader and never see him again, while Kubo, who was still on the hards, he was quite far behind actually here on this pass up. And yeah, he lost in the meantime that slipstream to even Corvid, because Kubo loses the slipstream to Kader. Yeah, this is the moment actually. As yeah, they were here, group of 3. Kubo gets pushed into the grass, so we're sort of falling down against Kader here. So Corvid pits, and yeah, here you can see already a big distance. When someone pits, sometimes it is possible to see like a slipstream break, because you get a big like hole created in the middle of that pack when that person in the middle was there connecting the bridge, let's say, pits. So Kader here alone in 3rd place, doing quite a good race, that's for sure. Then Sobel here on better tires now, catching up to the front. ChargeDT doing the same as well. They have the fresher tires amongst all of those drivers there. So yeah, they were catching up to the front. Then he's still up there in this group. And then my freeze pits, and she falls behind a lot of people. But now it's going to be fun to see her racing, because she has to pass a lot of people right now. This will be very crucial. As you can see now, she tries to get past ChargeDT. She goes side by side with him, but on the inside, and ChargeDT lets her pass. Now she has to pass Kado as well. Quite aggressive there, just taking the system and passing. And she managed to do that well with Kado, as Kado no longer has the big ping, of course. Now here, she gets passed by Kubo, got pushed into the grass. She gets on the outside. Now she goes on the inside line, takes a bit of that solo slipstream to get past Danny. But here she would lose a bit of time. And there she goes, once again losing 3 positions. So she lost a little time, but then Danny gets pushed on the outside. And so once again that downhill continues. It was not over yet. As here Mine Freeze finally gets past Kubo. Kubo lets her pass here. Now she gets the slipstream of Sobel. I think Kubo got pushed on the grass there. And yeah, now she gets passed by Sobel. Or she gets past Sobel. And yeah, that's it. Now as we get some clouds getting announced here. As Kubo has a very messy pit stop also, which will just drop him back. So one of the drivers who were more at the front would suddenly be more at the back. So Kubo from here just didn't have a good race, and he was certainly very frustrated for sure. As here we got now Mine Freeze getting past Kader, was still yet to pit, kind of dragging him along a little. As Antti was still yet to pit, of course, as he was on the hards. And so with all of this, she gets up to 2nd place a lot, and yeah, as here you can see also Kader pitting, for example, which then you could see Corvid will take the mediums, was now ahead of him, obviously with other tires, but then we will see how the weather will then influence and just make things easier for Corvid here. And so this was the situation coming to lap 18. So Antti was leading the way on the hard tires, yet to pit for the 2nd time. Manfred already have pitted for soft tires again. That shows she was already up to 2nd place. Then ChargeDT and Sobel, who were, as you might know, on a different strategy since the start. They were in 3rd and P4. Then Corvid, who already pitted early for the 2nd time into the mediums, now up into P5. But then you can see Danny Mater was still on the hards, would certainly get past by a lot of people as soon as he would pit. And yes, so this was the situation right now, because soon we're gonna get a rain announcement right when Antti's passing the pit lines, so he had no chance of pitting. He had to go an extra lap. It's very similar to what happened to me in Portimao in season 11. I was leading the way, then once when I passed the pits, the rain gets announced. And here it was light rain, so maybe Antti could hope that he could pit for another set of tries. But yeah, you can see here Danny gets massively lose a lot with this. Like he just loses a lot with this. He was still out on old hearts, and this was a massive moment for him as he was just lose a lot with this, and be another driver like Kubo who were at the front at the beginning, but then was behind. So with all of this, Anti have to deal with one lap old hearts on the wet surface, and this would just allow for Freeze to easily take the lead of the race. Then Charge GT, who had 7 pit stops just like Sobel would be in P4. Then Corvid, who had an extra pit stop, would be with him. So this is interesting. Charge GT and Sobel got in the exact same situation, but on the very so Charge, Sobel, and Corvid, they got themselves into a very similar situation, but how can I explain this? But on a completely different way. Like Sobel and Corvid were Sobel and Charge was by taking different tires from everyone else and being the latest drivers to pit, and in the end they saved one pit stop. Then Corvid was by doing undercuts and making them work pretty well in the end. So they got there in completely different ways, which is very interesting because a lot of the drivers did not save pit stops. So Corvid got benefited from this because of that, because of doing the same amount of pit stops compared to everyone else, but by undercutting them. While Sobel and Charge GT, they saved pit stops here. But yeah, then Charge GT got Anti when Anti left the pits. Freeze would be the one leading the way, and here Anti would just let Charge GT pass as he trusted his pace more. Usually Anti likes to slipstream, and usually he depends a lot on slipstreaming when he wins a race. Usually, let's say, it was the case in Austria, for example. He slipstreamed Karaf a lot of the time, and in the end he managed to benefit a lot from it, as Karaf got a bit screwed up by Kuba on that race. And yeah, Uris also, once again, Uris was another driver who started on the hard tires, and you could see how that sort of offset strategy was working well for him in this case. So that's just the reason. We don't need to even get into details to how Uris got from last up to P8 on that moment. So yeah, this was it. This was Freeze leading the way, Charge GT and Anti on the group, and Sobel and Corvid on another group. So soon we can skip to another moment. Then soon after we would see the rain ending. You can see Freeze goes into the pits. Everyone else would go into the pits. Although some drivers would still try to stay out. You can see here Kraft and Nandi maybe hoping that this could turn things around, because the Inter was still new, and it was still cloudy. That's another thing. It was cloudy, that's why they stood out, but it wouldn't work that well for them. But lucky for them, Urist in P8, he was quite far behind. It's a 6-second gap. So when they pitted, they would still be in P6 and P7. So they wouldn't lose this much, and they would have better tires in the end. But still, they lost time being undercutted, of course. So yeah, that's a big thing as well. And yeah, you can see also Kader will earlier on that first rain, he was in a similar situation than Derimator, for example, who was still out on hold hearts and lost a lot of time. So that was why he was like up to third place, and then now down to P10, for example. And that's another thing here. And yeah, then looking at the situation, you can see Maifei is leading the way on the soft tires. Once again, she was betting a lot on those soft tires, and maybe this time was to extend that gap to the hard tires here, and maybe picks hards again. We never know. I think she was actually just picking the soft side because she trusted those tires more. Then Charge GT always trusting on the hards, Anti on the same thing, just slipstreaming each other, and Corvid will take the softs and Sobel taking the mediums, which she was doing a lot as well. So I think this is not really about what the others were doing, it's more about what they trusted more when it comes to tires. So that's basically that. And so we can skip to another moment later on. So as we skip things a little bit, as I said, Charge GT and Anti were on the hards and Corvid was on the softs, and this would basically allow him to catch Anti and Charge GT. So there would be a group of 4 drivers now battling for second place, while Mayan Freeze was leading on the hards. But then they would lose slipstream again here, but I believe they might get that group again, if I'm not wrong. But they were basically still very close either way, so yeah, that was basically it. And then at the end of lap 29, Mayan Frias would then end yet another stint on the soft tires, so she went into the pits while everyone else who had either mediums and hards, and also Corvid still extended the softs a little bit, because I think Corvid here just wanted to benefit a little from having the slipstream of drivers on the hard tires. And basically, yeah, and also not maybe risk too much getting screwed up by rain potentially, as you can see here, light rain appears. So this was really bad for my Freeze, because she has just pitted, it was down into P5, so she lost the lead this way. Really unlucky for her, and so now Chargity would basically be the new leader of this race, and so yeah, as you can see here, now getting very close to lap 31. These three drivers pit, because not skipping anything here, because they would also pass Chargity, because Chargity stood out here. He gets a big mistake on that corner, as you just saw. The Mayan Freeze was still out as well, as she had new tires, so it made sense to maybe hope that the rain would end soon. But sadly for her, that was not really the case, so Antti, Corvid and Sobel were now undercutting her even further, so she would lose more time. As here, Corvid got caught up by Antti again, so he lets Corvid pass. And now we have a Corvid train here. Slipstream train. As Chargity gets undercut, he gets himself behind, he loses with that gamble. And he was just simply just ahead of Mayan Frias. Then Nandi here gaining a bit with this, as Mayan Frias got screwed up, so those two title rivals were now close to each other. And so yeah, that was basically it. So Corvid will now be your new leader of the race. So Corvid was like P4 at beginning, with Mayan Frias leading the way, then she pits, gets screwed up by the rain, so he's dropped down to P5. Then Chargity stood out to maybe hope it would be fake rain, but it wasn't, so he gets undercutted, so Corvid was up into second place. Then Antti lets him pass, as Antti believed that Corvid was faster. And so yeah, we have this sort of little Corvid train. As we get a little bit further, you can see here they then pit out of these inters, because this rain didn't last it that long, but it was still the best to pit for inters, of course. And now we would get into the final stint of the race already. Corvid would pit for medium, same thing with Sobel, and Antti will be into the hard tires. So there will be this sort of massive freeway fight for the lead. Chargity trying to go for the chase. Mayan Frias also on the mediums, trying to get herself into this group, but that will be proven to be really hard. And so yeah, we got this big group of three drivers now. Corvid will be the one leading the way. I think we can skip things a little bit, as I think now it's actually right here we got a bit of a battle. Sobel tries to get a bit of that Corvid slipstream very smartly here to get himself up into second place, as I think then very soon Antti loses the slipstream on a very weird way. I cannot really explain how this happened. He sort of brakes too much and he loses the slipstream, and this would prove to be really bad for him, because I think Antti was on the hards to get the benefit of all of those hards at the end of the race. He was on that pack, so it made sense, but now losing the slipstream of Sobel and Corvid, it would be really bad for him, because now he wouldn't have the same pace as the top two drivers right now, so he would be losing time to them into a lot of this stint, because I think the mediums and soft tires have proven to be faster than the hards this entire season because of the new cars. And so Antti would inevitably just be losing time to the top two, whether he had actually better pure pace or not. Also Chargity would be on his way, trying to get himself into this battle for a podium, and Mayan Frias will be the same, with Nandi trying to as well get to Mayan Frias for the title fight. And so yeah, that was basically it. As you can see here, Corvid against Sobel just battling each other, and I think very soon we will see how Chargity managed to get into Antti, as they both just trying to slipstream each other to get themselves into the top two. As you can see right here, Chargity gets much closer to Antti. I don't think Antti makes any mistake. So yeah, Chargity was just getting much closer right now, and that was Basically that's here. They're just trying to get close, and I think they will get very close. As you can see here, Sobel is not that far away, which is very interesting right now, because I think maybe Corvid was feeling a lot of pressure as well. This is the thing, like Corvid is someone who is very pingy, and it would be really hard for Sobel. You can see he tries to make some pressure on Corvid, but it would be really hard because Corvid has a lot of ping. So if you get past him, you might risk also getting pushed off. But Corvid, I'm pretty sure he was feeling a lot of pressure still, because there was a lane on the line, and right behind him it was the season 12 world champion, and right behind we have some multi race winners, and also of course a one-time race winner in Charge GT there. So you know, it was a lot of pressure from Corvid. I'm pretty sure the biggest pressure he ever felt, I think, in his entire career. So yeah, and in Charge GT they get really close. I have to just rewind a little bit, because you can see this is the moment. Look at this, they're just right here, they're not that far away, but they just didn't manage to quite do it. Have they managed to do it this early, that would be amazing for them, but it just didn't work out. And then very soon we will see how things go a little bit downhill for Anti and Charge GT, as they completely mess up these first two corners. Andy messes up on the inside, Charge GT messes up on the outside, and it's a big mistake here that causes them a lot of time now. You can see the difference now. Oh, they're not as close as they were a lap ago. It's so, yeah, Andy makes yet another mistake, and this would be really bad for them. As we get ourselves into the tire stages of the race, we got just basically one lap to go. Now the hards are starting to get better than the medium, so you can see how Charge GT just gets Sobel now for the battle for second place. So Sobel got caught up, and very crucially he had lost a slipstream to Corvid as well. So this would be amazing for Corvid now. He would get some distance, some breathing space, while the others will be battling for a second place maybe here. As you can see here, Charge GT tries to get second place, but he's not successful there, and he gets pushed here on the outside or makes a mistake, which would put him out of the fight for the podium right now. But maybe he could still hope, as the others battling would cost him time, of course. So Antti could still have a hope to come back. Manifest was close, but not close enough. Charge GT tries to get on the inside line. He gets the inside line. He gets second place right now. As Corvid was just there, not that far away, but it will still be very hard for him. As you can see here, Corvid was just ahead enough to take the win, as Charge GT just gets the slipstream right at the end, and Antti still gets Sobel, but not close enough to take third place. So Sobel hold on for the podium finish here, while then Manifest would finish in P5 and Andy in P6. And then we would see also a double top 10 finish for the Lynx Racing drivers and Kader, also with the P8, which I think would be his first best ever result. And yeah, and I think this was it. This was obviously very historical moments from this race. Very exciting to see Corvid winning out of nowhere. He would suddenly put himself kind of in the battle for the title, as I believe he was into the top 4 or top 3 in the standings. And this was it. This was how Corvid, on a very chaotic and shaky race, gets his first ever win in Ultimate League. And I hope you guys like this video, and I see you next time.